Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner Horror Podcast. I'm your host as always, Corey, and today I've got a top 10 list coming to you. So this will be the top 10 list for the week, and I'm excited to say this is going to be slashers. My wife honestly suggested this one, and to be honest with you, I couldn't wait to do this one because slashers is my favorite subgenre. I would have to say over zombies, monsters, vampires, werewolves, everything else, slashers, takes the cake for me. I pretty much started at a young age watching some slasher films from Friday the 13th. I believe that was kind of my first one. But yeah, I love slasher films. So with that, just a quick disclaimer. This is my list, and my list only. I'm not saying by no means that these are the best or that my number 10 should be number 1. I'm just out there saying this is my list, and if you guys have a difference, leave a comment down below. Let's get a discussion going. Let's see what your top 10 list is. Also, head over to the Facebook group and spark up a conversation there. What's your top 10 list as far as the subgenre for slashers? I'm dying to see what everyone comes up with. So with that, let's just jump straight into it. So number 10 is actually going to be Laid to Rest. And again, I'll just real quick. I have a ton of slasher films, and honestly, it was really hard for me to come up with a top 10 list. It probably would have been a lot easier for a top 25 list, honestly. But then once I got my top 10 picked out, it was really hard to number these, to tell you the truth. And I'll explain once I get about the top 3 on why I chose them to be 1, 2, and 3. But with that, number 10 is Laid to Rest. And I've never even seen Chrome Skull, and I'm kicking myself for that. But the Chrome Skull is a sequel to this, but ultimately, I love this film for some reason. It's just very fascinating, and he's just kind of an interesting killer. So yeah, with that, if you haven't seen this one, I recommend this one. So this is gonna be number 10 for me. All right, number 9, Friday the 13th Part 3. And I tell you honestly, a lot of people say that they love, number 2 and number 4 and stuff. And this is kind of the one that almost seems like no one really. I'm sorry for that glare, guys. I keep everything in plastic cases. But yeah, just everyone. I never see reviews and stuff like that on this particular film. And honestly, the reason why it's one of my favorites out of the whole franchise is pretty much because he gets his iconic mask in this film. And don't get me wrong, Potato Stack Jason, I love him. But I mean, he gets his iconic mask, and when you think of horror, you say something about horror, instantly somebody goes to that mask. So that's the reason why this is this is in this top 10, and this is number 9. Next up, I don't revisit this movie as much as I should, but I had to put it in my top 10 because ultimately it's one of my favorites, and that is Madman. I love this film. This is such a fun film. I enjoy watching this throughout the year. I haven't visited this in a while, so I need to revisit it. But yeah, number 8, Madman. Next up, and actually I just recently introduced my buddy to this movie, which I thought was awesome. It was a great first experience for him, I think, and yeah, I look forward to possibly doing a podcast with him and talking about this film, but that is The Burning. So, honestly, I don't visit it enough, again, and that's the reason why it's so far down in the top 10s, but I had to have it. This is such a fun film, and Jason Alexander is so fun in this film. Just really all the characters are fun in this film, so love this movie. Next up is another one that actually I introduced my buddy to over the weekend. We kind of had a little theme going, in which I think we'll probably end up doing a couple reviews on these, but Sleepaway Camp. I love this film. Such a great film. I'm not a as much of a fan as the second and third installment, but this one really, I love it. It's such a great film. Um, Everything about it, the characters and just everything, and you almost have like a pure hatred for some of the characters, and then some of the characters you just ultimately love, and then just a weird twist, and such a fun film. That's a great film. Next up is actually one of my favorites, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm on the top 5 at this point. So this is a film that I normally watch every year, and actually I didn't watch it this year, but that is My Bloody Valentine. I love this film. Such a fun film. I always love revisiting this film. But yeah, it's up there. I have a pure love for this. No pun intended. Next up, number 4. Honestly, the reason why it's here is because I do watch this one year round. I at least pop it in once a year, and it's just a fun film as well. But that is The Mutilator. This is a great film if you haven't seen it, and honestly, the Arrow edition is just awesome. Yeah, I just honestly can't say enough about this. It's definitely a fun film, and quite enjoyable. I really love this film. And I believe, actually, I don't know how true it is, but I saw rumors where they were potentially making a sequel years later. But yeah, so check that out. I believe Buddy Cooper is he's the director, but he actually put on Facebook that he was potentially making a sequel, so that's cool. Now the top 3. So the top 3, obviously, these were a little bit harder for me to put in sections, and ultimately I just put them in as far as what I visit the most. So with that, number 3, The Intruder. This is a fun film. Sam Raimi honestly, it's just a fun film. I think Ted Raimi's in it, and just all the quick one-liners and just everything in this film's phenomenal. Even the death scenes are just really crazy in this film. But all honesty, you wouldn't think that a movie that would be good made in a supermarket or yeah, I guess you would say supermarket or a grocery store. But it worked for this film, and it is a really fun film. And it is definitely fun for first timers. I introduced this to a buddy of mine, and he loved it, and he quotes it all the time. Thanks, Dave. That's cheesy. All right, so number 2 is a film that I do visit quite often. Like I said, again, at least once a year, if not more. But that is Maniac. I mean, Joe Spinell is so phenomenal in this film. He really played the character quite well. But yeah, all honesty, I have a pure love for this film, and I was glad I got introduced to this early on in my love for horror. But yeah, this is a great film. And I believe you can catch a review. I did a review on that a while back. All right, so number one, I honestly, I turn on quite often. There's at times where a couple buddies of mine and I will be sitting around the house playing cards, and I'll just honestly have this movie on just playing in the background just because. And that is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love this movie. Everything about this film is so fun. Actually, the only thing that I don't like about this movie is I think his name is Frank, the the guy in the wheelchair. He gets under my skin throughout this whole movie. Well, not throughout the whole movie, because obviously he gets it, but he's just aggravating as hell. Annoying. I don't care for his character at all, one bit. Yeah, a few years back, I actually got to meet Ed Neal, and that guy is quite a character. As kooky as he is in this movie, he's like that in real life. But yeah, just fun. So with that, like I said, I had a ton more that I could have put in here, and you know, honestly, like Halloween is another one that I just didn't even think about putting in here. And I honestly, I visit that quite often, so I guess that would be an honorable mention. Um, so yeah, Halloween, the original, obviously, and then another one that I wanted to actually put in here, I really had trouble not putting in here is uh, oh gosh, the Prowler. Sorry. But yeah, the Prowler. That's a fun film in itself alone. And I just honestly I haven't visited that in a while, so there was kind of conflict on me putting it in here, but I really actually wanted to put it in here. And there's several others. I've got tons and tons and tons of them. But yeah, honestly, that's it. And like I said, leave a comment down below. Let's see what your top 10 slasher films are. I'm dying to see what you guys come up with, and maybe you guys mention something that I've never seen before and that I want to check out. So with that, like always, like, share, subscribe. Check me out on the Facebook group, also Instagram. I believe we are going to be doing a actual full-blown podcast this week. I'm thinking that we're going to be doing that, so be on the lookouts for that. That's going to happen probably real soon. There's a lot of talk about it, so excited about it. But yeah, with that, later, guys.